My big suggestion to students, particularly through high school, is
you can do anything.
Choose it for you, not for it is worth
it.
Just focus on the next step.
Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Don't be afraid.
As long as you're doing something.
That is such good advice.
I don't think I could see myself doing
It's a
anything else.
challenging life.
Student nights, Wednesday to
Oh,
Saturday.
I worked on that house.
I racked up every single dollar of debt that I
I
possibly
think
could.
there's a lot of pressure on high school.
Yeah, I
kids
just
these
love
days, right?
working outside.
And if money is something that you care a lot
In
about,
hindsight, that
I've
was...
also been a very indecisive
But you
person.
keep looking for roads that have been less
It
travelled.
was just that moment that I knew what I wanted to do. So nothing else is going to change that.
Welcome to the guest speaker.
Good morning. Good evening. It's good evening for you guys.
How are you, Miriana?
I've been really good. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, no, pleasure.
We both thought of you in different ways because I'm on the Instagram, Miriana. So then I found you and I was like doing this, and then Ludlam messaged me and I was like, no way. So we both found you in our own ways and we're like, your story has to be on the guest speaker. It's such a cool one. And we both know you, but haven't kept up other than probably online since then. So I'm really keen to hear everything you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to sharing my journey on this platform. So exciting, yet really nervous. So hopefully whatever I share with you guys today is some people who ever listen to this today can take something away from it. But yeah, honestly, it means so much that you guys even consider bringing me on here to share my journey and where I am today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to talk for a bit, Miriana, not to sort of take it away from you, but I think people who sit here and listen need to hear a little bit about you, because you're not going to necessarily produce everyone your CV as you're talking. But I think it's important for people to understand the caliber of you in your dance world and some of the things you've done. And so I've, of course, gone away and scrambled together some stuff that I think this will put it in context, I hope. So please don't be embarrassed. And if any of this is wrong, no.
It's all good.
So your dance journey began when you were 5 years old. However, it became your number one passion at around 10 when you found hip hop. Your training spans across multiple styles including hip hop, jazz, and contemporary. And you have New Zealand dance exam qualifications in all three. You've performed and competed both nationally and internationally, sharing the stage with some of the top choreographers and artists, most notably including the Royal Family, Identity Dance Company, Nappy Boys, Indigo, Sagalars, Bindico, Momentum Productions. Performances of note include the Royal Family Skulls and Crowns in Las Vegas, appearances in music videos for Paris Gobel and Sammy J, Identity Dance Company, standout performances at Hip Hop Nationals, where you've been a guest performer, and Upgrade in Sydney, as well as performances at high-profile events like All Blacks Tests, Breakers Games, Stirling Sports, Pacifica Festivals. You have danced with New Zealand artist Lavina Williams at the New Zealand High Tech Awards in front of a huge audience, including the Prime Minister of the time. And in 2018, you founded the Street Dance Sessions, a Waikato-based dance school. And to finish, having witnessed the young people you've mentored and tutored when I went to an event and you brought them on stage, and we had kids literally they looked 5, maybe ranging from about 5 to 12. I don't know what their age group was. The performances those kids put on were phenomenal. Until then, you got up and I thought, this is a different level. So from someone who's not a dance person, I just sat back and you were incredible. So I suppose I know as a teacher, there are kids who become incredibly fixated with their dance. It's really important to them. It becomes a real outlet for them. And I'm wondering whether that's the same as you. And when we take you back now, maybe to start with your education, I suspect, well, I know, but I don't want to talk for you, but I know education, I know some things, but I want you to be able to tell kids maybe liked you, how you found school, the things you struggled with, the things you enjoyed, and how you coped with things before maybe we get into the real dance stuff. So welcome, thank you for being here, because we're really looking forward to this.
Wow. It's really crazy, like, having to think back to when it kind of all began. Like, I always knew I wanted to be a dancer from the day I started. And I think it really did start to hit off when I was 10. And I think if I go back to, education, like when I started at Cambridge High School, I was actually not supposed to go to Cambridge High. I was enrolled into another school at the time, and it was a school in Hamilton. So I'm born and raised in the Waikato, in a good place called Kirikiriroa in Hamilton. So that's I think 15, 20 minutes away from Cambridge. And just a week before I was due to start, the school actually got in contact with my mum and said, because of a report from my year 8 testing, they thought I needed to be put into like a special learning class, because I had a different way of approaching learning. A lot of the students that I had in my class, they were able to understand a lot of the academic side. For me, I approached it differently. So I kind of was a challenge for me to kind of adapt to theory stuff. So my mum actually went into the school and said, hey, she needs to be with people just like her to help her and to grasp onto her knowledge. And then I think after a little bit of going back and forth, my mum decided it was probably for the best to take me out of the school, and that's where I found myself at Cambridge High. The first week, it was definitely really, really hard, leaving my old friends behind in Hamilton and going into a brand new environment. I remember my first day very clear, because there was a big group of year 9s, and of course they all knew each other from Cambridge Middle School and all the other schools within Cambridge. And I was kind of going into this very blind, and they were all chatting about how their school holidays were, and I was kind of in the corner, a bit far away from everybody, just kind of on my own, just having no one to talk to. And I think that's where I kind of felt a bit oh my gosh, is this the right choice? Did my mum make the right choice for me to come to the school? But then, and it took me a while to, really apply, to really settle into the new environment. It took me time to find a circle of friends, and it was just a really rocky, it was a rocky start. But then after a while, I found some really awesome teachers that were able to support me, and they really understood, my different ways of learning. So they were able to help me get along the right track. And I think in my first year in year 9, I had a great support from the people at the Student Support Centre, who helped me in my first year, just to help me settle into, I guess you can say, high school. And then pretty much after that, I was on my own. And I think I'm so grateful for that. And I think, looking back at my time at Cambridge, I would say it was definitely a pretty positive experience. I made some wonderful connections with with friends, and some of them I still, keep in touch to this day. I think it was a bridesmaid for one of my best friends a few years ago. So there was definitely some good that came out of it, for sure. But looking back on my time there, I definitely would say I've always been a visual learner, always visual. When someone were to write something on the board, it would take me, I would understand it, but it would take me a bit of time to really absorb that information than the normal students. But when it came to when a teacher would show me a picture or movement, I would be able to understand it straight away. And I think that's when dance really comes into play with what I do pretty much now. And yeah, throughout high school, I was into the arts. Like I did graphic design, photography. I even did dance as a subject when it was, in its first years with good old Alana Wells. And yeah, I think I'm just grateful for the arts department at the time for allowing students like myself to express my creativity.
So when you talk, Miriana, does that mean your results, at what age did you leave? Did you do level 1 and 2, 3?
Yeah, so I pretty much did. Yes, so I did do my level 1, 2, and 3. So I was able to achieve my NCA, which was a really proud moment for me and my family. Yeah, so I did like English, math, which was very hard, especially English wasn't too bad, but when it came down to math, yeah, it wasn't my strongest subject ever. And I always say this to myself, like for numbers as a dancer, as long as I had my 5, 6, 7, 8 and my 45-degree angles, I'm okay. But I knew my mum wanted to really encouraged me to make sure I got my numeracy credits. So I did what I had to do to make sure I got the numeracy credits. And in year 11, there was a point where I thought I wasn't going to pass my numeracy, so I did get a little worried. But the school were able to get me some extra support in the math department, and I just did some extra little internal assessments for math, and I was able to get the 10 numeracy credits. I was able to get to pass NCA. So I was really proud of that and just happy I was able to do it. Pretty much once I got the numeracy, I was like, okay, that's done. Now I need to get the literacy for English. But yeah, so I guess you could say the academic side was definitely a different learning for me, like challenging. But looking back on it now, I'm pretty happy that I was able to still achieve, go through 5 years of getting my education. Because as a dancer myself, I knew that I wanted to dance. And my mum was like, yep, that's cool. You want to dance, that's great. But at the same time, you're going to make sure you get your education, because for our family, no matter what, school comes first. So kind of went through the whole barriers of making sure I was keeping up my education whilst I was still able to, pursue my other passion for dance.
That's what I was going to say, Miriana, is I remember, and how long did you take drama, or did you take drama? Because I feel like I saw you in the drama department quite a lot.
Yeah, I did drama pretty much right throughout. So from year 9 right to, pretty much year 13. Yeah, and like I said, I think I remember you did the Fame production, I think, at the time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and all of these fond memories come back, but I do recall you were either fundraising for a trip, on a trip, doing some different troop, like all these things. So yes, while you were getting the education, I'd love if you told us, like I know your mum was saying education comes first, but there was a lot of extracurricular dance going on. What were you involved with outside of that school, during school?
So outside of school, I was definitely, so as well, I was also doing classes at least 2 to 3 times a week. So I was taking a jazz class, a contemporary class, a hip hop class, and even and doing extra private lessons here and there. And even I was doing at the time when I was in year 9, I was doing netball as well for a little while. So which was quite a bit of a challenge to balance that out as well, like having school and then adding in sports and dance. So that was a lot to juggle. And even with the extra classes I was doing for dance, I was also commuting back and forth to Auckland to do just like normal hip hop workshops. And that was happening once a week. And I think that was pretty much when my commuting back and forth from Hamilton to Auckland kind of started when I was 16, and still to this day, I'm still like commuting back and forth to Auckland just to keep myself training and upskilling. But yeah, so pretty much, yeah, outside of school, I was doing just lots of dance and finding ways of how can I get better, how can I improve my training to be the better version of myself as a dancer, because there's a lot of things that people don't often see behind the scenes. They only just see the outcome and the final results on the stage. And I think that's a lot of that I'll probably dive into a little bit more later in this interview. But yeah, there was pretty much like there would be nights where I have nights off to do like assessments and homework, and other days where it's like I'd be going to a dance class. Sometimes I'd be doing 2 classes a day, just depending on the schedule at the time. And even in between that, I'll be doing like shows or performing at like little events. So yeah, it was pretty much like a balance between school and dance. And it almost kind of taught me a little bit how to manage my time as well. And that part was definitely a challenge, managing my time on finding the balance of those things at the time.
I just want to touch on, because there'll be parents sitting here, Miriana, and they will have a child like you, and your family seem to deal with it really, really well. I mean, you might know this story, but Gillian Lynn, who did Cats, Phantom of the Opera, in the 1930s, her mum took her to a specialist, mainly because she was classified, I suppose, in this day and age as having ADHD. She couldn't sit still. She wanted to move. What I find really interesting is you already knew, you learned visually that there were certain cues you had in a classroom or wherever you were that helped you learn. But this was the 1930s, and they were in the specialist's office, and the mum's telling the specialist all about what's wrong with Gillian. And eventually he listens and he says, "That's lovely." He says, "Can I talk to you outside?" And before he leaves, he turns the radio on. And they go outside, and then he says, "Watch what Gillian does to the mum." And she starts to move. And he says, "Gillian hasn't got a problem. She's a dancer." And I'm wondering how many parents there have a dancer. They don't have a problem. They have a dancer, and if you fight that, not like your parents didn't, because you were getting transported to Auckland and you were at a million little things. Already you were hooked in, but there are starving artists out there, maybe kids who just don't know why they can't sit still. So I'm interested in your maybe thoughts on that, and maybe how lucky you were to be aware of it.
Yeah. That's definitely crazy, because I am quite familiar with that story you just mentioned there. I think it kind of takes me back like many, many years ago when I was 2. My mom took me to the doctors, and they said that I had like this that's when I kind of realized that I was different in my own unique way. And it was a way where at the time, of course, when you're 2 years old, you're not going to understand anything. The doctors told my mom that it was so severe, they thought that I wouldn't be able to talk, read, write, or even or just even do any like anything at all. They thought it was like really bad. And I didn't understand it at the time, but my mum was like, "Okay, I understand." But then she's like, there's nothing wrong with her. She's just different. And that's when, the whole thing of being a visual learner comes into play. And I know for myself that there's many kids out there like me that, that can't understand why they're different. Why are they, different from any other normal kids, if you know what I mean? And like a lot of the kids that, when when I get to meet some students that I teach, and, you know, there's some that, you know, I've had kids that have come to my school that have, you know, ADHD and, you know, that or have sensitive to, that are sensitive to like really loud noises. And it's not for me, it's not a matter of fact of like, you know, turning them away. I'm more of the, okay, I totally understand. Let's find a way to like, you know, make it more comfortable for you. And I mean, a lot of it, a lot of the things that I've had to like overcome in my time, I mean, we'll get, and I mean, a lot of that will be revealed, like, you know, as we go through this interview. But I think my big thing will be just like, no matter like, you know, who you are as a person or how you like do things differently, it's not going to stop you from doing other things as well. Like, I'm just grateful that without dance, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And it can be meaning like for anything, whether it's like, you know, like even with like sports, that's movement, and dance, it's movement. And even just like anything you do like in life is movement. And I think without that, you know, we'd be really stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, and can I just take you back so I'm going to get you back to where you were. You said about 16 and you're heading to Auckland, you're getting really busy. Are you now good, or is the good bit coming later? And I really want to know at what point you thought, I'm actually quite good here.
I love that question. Yeah, when did you and your parents go like, this is something?
Maybe she used the words good grace when she saw you in the production.
Yeah, she went, oh, this is good.
I think once I started the traveling to Auckland, I think that's when I slowly, I think I would realize that I was kind of like, you know, getting better and improving. And I'm great. And, you know, it's great that I have like, you know, a family that's honest, because some weeks they could be like, yeah, you're actually getting better, you're starting to improve. Or other weeks it's like, yeah, you need to sort yourself out. You need to do this, you need to do that, you're not doing enough of this. And it's like, okay, I'll do my best. And it kind of works in a cycle where like, it's just like a constant like wave. So like you have your weeks where it's like, you know, oh yes, I'm actually quite good. Like I'm getting better at this. And weeks where it's just, and sometimes you might feel a little flat, but then you build yourself back up again. And yeah, I think at the time too, I think just because the level I wanted to get to with my dancing, at the time there wasn't much of that in Hamilton. So I knew the only way to do that was to start going back and forth to Auckland. Like I would be going at like 6:30 p.m. and probably not getting back till like 10 p.m. at night. And the class would be like at 7, finish at like 8:30, but sometimes would have to like, you know, stop on the way. It's just a lot of things that, you know, that I was willing to do, to sacrifice to get to like the next stage. And luckily for my mum and my grandma who are and have been the biggest supporters for me, you know, they knew that I want to get better and I want to be a dancer. So they were willing to help me, you know, do their part with the, you know, driving up, the drop-offs, the pickups, as long as I got to meet them halfway and do my part. So I was like, okay. So it was kind of like, okay, we'll do your part, we'll do our part to help you to get to where you need to, but you also got to do your part, get the training, get better, and at the same time, give everything 110%.
That's a really good message too, I think, for whether it's dance, other sports, whatever it is you're doing as the parent, but as the kid. So I love, thank you that you talked about both of meeting halfway, because the kid can't themselves to Auckland. Legally they can't. Yeah. Public transport's not good enough. That's But saying, yeah, like I will meet you halfway. Everything that's within my control, I will give that 110%. And as a parent, like your mom, your grandma, they must just be fired up to be like, yeah, I'll drive. if that's all you need from me, I'm
Yeah.
there. So as the kid or the student listening, maybe if you do have a situation where you need help or you want to be driven or whatever it may be, approaching whoever your caregiver is and saying like, hey, exactly as you just did there, Miriana, I'll meet you halfway. I'll do this. Can you do this? That's a cool piece of advice, because that is a big barrier for some people, especially if they're living across New Zealand.
Yeah, and there's so many out there. Like I know there's a couple of dancers that I know of from my area. There's some that are, that just struggle with that kind of support, or some that have like a big village. Like a lot of people, and like I believe this in myself, it takes a village to like build somebody from the bottom to build them all the way back up to the top. And for me, I'm grateful for my family and for them to be my biggest supporters. Because I know without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be even doing, sharing my journey with you guys. Like this is like, I think for me, it was, if you surround yourself with good, positive minded people, you'll be able to build yourself up. And because you're around people that have that positive mindset and share the same like passion and motivation as you, and with that you'll be able to do anything. So yeah, I guess it is pretty cool.
Can I ask you, Miriana, because I want to get there definitely, is this high performance dance you're involved with, because eventually we want to get to your studio, maybe we do, but let's get to the high performer. When did that unravel, and when did these massive opportunities come where you were performing, and so how did that pan out? Can you talk about that? A lot of dancers have high aspirations, I suppose, and they want to be like you.
So in 2014, I auditioned for the Paris Dance Studio, which is one of the biggest studios in New Zealand. I've always been into I was always into the Paris Dance Studio, which is run by Paris Gobel, who's like a pretty big choreographer in the scenes right now. She's done a lot of work for like Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Rihanna. And of course, I wanted in on some of the action. So I actually auditioned for their company in 2012. And I unfortunately missed the cut, which I was really heartbroken about. I think I cried when I found I didn't make the cut. So I was pretty gutted about it, but I didn't let that affect me. And I, did classes and tried again the next year. Didn't get in again. Tried again. And then 2014 came along. I got like selected in the final cut, I would say, during the audition process. And unfortunately, like, even though I was close, I didn't quite make the cut again. So it was pretty much back to the drawing board again, back to training, going to dance classes, and try again the next year. And then a few months later, I think it was in March, we got a call from the studio manager, and they said that we need another dancer for one of our varsity crews, and we were thinking of Miriana. So we would like for her to come and trial for the week. And if Paris is happy with the process, then you'll be in the team. And when I found out about it, I was over the moon. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did I actually just get into the royal family? I was like over the moon. I went on the first day, trialed, did my absolute best. And then when I went back 2 days later, it was pretty much yep, you're in. They're very happy with your process. Welcome to the royal family. And that's when I knew, like, oh my gosh, I'm now going to be amongst some of the best dancers in New Zealand, training every day, doing all these competitions, hopefully going to, the hip hop internationals over in Las Vegas. Like, I can't believe this is happening to me in a way.
And so in terms of a hip hop artist, this is, if you're a rugby player, you want the All Blacks. If you're a hip hop artist, you want to be with Paris Gobel. That for us people who know nothing, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty much that. It's like, you're a rugby player and you make it into the All Blacks. It was, for me, that's how I felt like that at the time. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. Like, my family was so proud of me. And then the next day, I told Mrs. Peters about it, and she was just over the moon. Like, I've never seen like one of my teachers be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. And then found out that she told like all of the staff and even like her other drama students about my achievement. And I'm like, is this really happening? Like, I kind of had to like take a bit of like kind of take it in a bit and be like, did I just have this teacher like actually acknowledge my achievement? Because for me, like, yes, it's a big deal, but I'm like, would they even appreciate like something like this? And to like receive that acknowledgement from her and all of my other like teachers I had, it was just like, it meant so much to me. And particularly
Miriana, because you're in an environment where initially, I mean, now we go back to that year 9 getting enrolled, the only reason you were there was because of possibly problems you might have, or things the school needed to take care of. So I can see that's a massive deal to see that success in that environment as well, not just making Paris Gobel's group. But yeah, so I can see why you'd be so proud of that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then it even got mentioned at the full school assembly. And Mrs. Alana Wells actually was announcing it in front of the whole school, because I remember standing beside her in front of everybody like, oh my gosh. I was kind of like starstruck at the time, but at the same time kind of like, oh my gosh. And then that's when I received the arts tie, and that was a hit, like a oh my gosh, like moment. And to be the first student in Cambridge High School's history to receive the arts tie as well, that was a real like for me, like, which felt like a small achievement, turned into something like even special. And it's for the school to like, to recognize something within the arts was just like a proud moment for me, my family, and even I would say for Cambridge High School as well. Because because the arts is a very beautiful form, and to have it recognized for something like nationally and internationally was just really happy moment.
It gives me like almost chills. And for people who don't know what the arts tie is, it works at least at Cambridge High, or it did, I think, when we were there, Miriana, was because we wear our uniforms, and in year 13 you have to wear a tie whenever there's formal occasions. And if you had achieved something pretty significant, aka the first ever for the arts tie, what color was your one? Was it like a gold, or?
It was like a blue, and the gold writing had like CHS on it. Yeah.
So you would visibly see that the moment she turned around, she's got this identifier, and there was a few people who got it for sport or maybe academics, but it was this really public display of like, you are standing out, you're a high performer. And I do remember hearing about it because it's something that had never been done. I don't know if anyone else from Cambridge has ever achieved what you had with the royal family. It just was a completely new realm. So I'm so glad you felt embraced when that happened. And that was year 13, right? So it would have been March of year 13.
Yeah. So for it to happen in my final year of school, because I think at the time I was in the student exec as the Māori rep that year as well. And to just have that on top of it, it was like the icing on the cake.
Love that.
Little cherry on top.
Yeah. Okay. So building on that opportunity, what are either explaining more about that, or even all the other things that I read out earlier?
Yeah.
How did this career and this thing keep going for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, being in the royal family in that year, it was definitely a lot of work. Like, we trained, I think the longest I ever trained there was 12 hours, which is the longest I've ever had to train like dance ever in my life. I think it was a bit of a shock to the system for me at first, but then after a while, I kind of got used to it. Even in school holidays, we'd almost be training every single day from like 9 till 6. Like it was a lot of like training to build up to something like a competition. And then in August, I got the opportunity to go to Las Vegas with the royal family and perform in their Skulls and Crowns show. Which is like their dance show that they held at the Hip Hop International Competition, which for those who may not know, that Hip Hop Internationals is kind of like the hip hop, the Olympics for hip hop. So this is like, you're going up against some of the best in the world from like different countries like Australia, Japan, the Philippines, America, all to fight for a spot on the podium. And I just remember the trainings for that in Vegas. Keep in mind, this is in summer. It's very, very hot, and training pretty much every day from like morning till sometimes late at night. I don't think we saw much of Vegas until after the competition was over. We'd like get to the hotel and then go back to the studio, and think those were like the main places we saw most of our time there. But I think the things I take away from being with the royal family that year is that passion never sleeps, and hard work pays off when you put in the work. And I just remember seeing, so many, like, we even had like some of our young kids in there, the youngest being like 10, 11, 12. And they were trained the same amount of hours as we were. And like, it was just really like inspiring, and whilst at the same time, a lot of hard work. Like it was definitely hard to like, keep up with that intense training. But definitely looking back on it now, if I wasn't part of the royal family that year, I wouldn't have the commitment and the passion and the work ethic I have now. And that has really helped me a lot in all of my other dance virtues that I've, led into once I finished my time at Cambridge. And that's when it kind of, yes.
No, shit. So I'm sorry, I've interrupted. But
no, you're good.
I'm a young dancer sitting there listening to you now, and you're going hard 12 hours. What are you doing? Would a young dancer know what you're doing? Like, are you doing stretches? Are you just running routines? Because I know nothing.
Yeah. So our train, like if I look back on our trainings, we'd be, of course, at the start, you always do like a warm up and stretch. And then the rest of the day, it's just a matter of fact of running through like the same routines over and over and over until it's like clean. We could be even changing some stuff in our little routine, like adding a little bit of adding like a trick or a little wow moment in the set to make, and that kind of stuff helps to, improve on the set. We do get breaks in between during the day, but not a lot of breaks. And I think that's the reason why that, I was amongst the best in the country at the time, because they put in the hours and put in the work to make, the sets. Because when you're dancing with eight other people, you want to make sure that you're all dancing at like the same. Like it all comes down to like, how you place your arms, how your hands are, even like where you place your head. It all comes down to like little details, because the performance side, it should feel natural as a dancer. It all comes down to how you not only like with your details of your body and 7 other bodies, but also teamwork. I think teamwork plays a lot when it's like a sports team. If you're amongst like some really cool people in your team, you'll be able to, create some awesome achievements. So yeah, behind the scenes, it's a lot of like, repetition, and then running through the routine with music, and then more repetition, and even like getting some feedback even if the feedback at times from tutors can be a little bit harsh, there may be some tears, but at the end of the day, you have to think that the teachers that help you to, create this routine, they're trying to also help you to get better, because if they don't give you the feedback, then it's just going to be like just the same. You want to be able to always build up from the top. So trainings are like a mixture of like, you have fun trainings and then trainings where it's like very like straight to the point, serious. And it's just, there's a lot of work behind the scenes, but it's always the outcome at the end that just surprises a lot of people from a dancer's perspective, and of course from a teacher's perspective as well.
Oh, a question, and you touched upon it there, and it's that thing about the feedback, because now and we will get there with you having your own business and being a teacher yourself, but when you do start to get critique, which is, if maybe it's the first time, like maybe you have been dancing for your family and they're praising you, and then a teacher looks at you for the first time, it's like, oh, it's good, but you could work on blah, 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 blah. As you get higher, the standards get higher, therefore the critique gets more intense. You touched upon it a little bit there, but for someone listening, how did you cope with, maybe Paris Gobel saying, oh, you could work on this, and not letting that really overwhelm you emotionally?
Well, Paris and some of her teachers, they were definitely straight to the point. I would definitely remember some of the feedback they would give us, like, maybe you want to hear it from other coaches, like, oh, that wasn't good enough, oh, you guys did really bad, you could have done this, we told you to do this, and all that kind of stuff. So I think for me, I really had to learn to like take in those really harsh critiques. Because there's no point in like, crying about it in front of them, because otherwise they're gonna think that you're soft. So I really had to like toughen it out. You really, like, for something like for the dancing, it's like you got to have like really tough skin sometimes. I think there was one time I would even remember, like, they would even say like, oh, your posture is not right, you need to be up here like this, and I'm like, oh, okay. But like on the outside I'm like, okay, on the inside I'm like, oh, okay then.
There is an element, isn't there, Miriana, though, of reputation, because Paris's reputation, if you go out and make a shambles of it, equally you now must have kids representing you in a sense, and you'd be slightly embarrassed because you'd be like, well, I'm somebody here, and you're not going to perform like that. So reputation's important in dance.
Yes. Yeah, I would definitely say, the representation is quite special, like quite important in the dance scene. Like, we may be a small country, but the dance scene here it's huge, and people know who you are. They know, what you do, what you've done, and how you represent yourself. So if you like, one thing can, it can either, bring you up here or down, or it could bring you down to like another dimension, I can say. So you really have to make sure you're giving 110% in every single training you were always in. And that's really implied to like my time at the Palace and all the other studios that I have danced for during my time.
Is there a chance, Miriana, that the 110% isn't for everyone? That you're a young dancer out there and you love going to ballet or hip hop or jazz, but maybe that next level isn't for you because you're talking thick skin, the degree, maybe the love goes. Have you seen that happen to kids?
Yeah, I would have to say, I have seen that before. The people that I started dancing with in my early days of dance, they kind of finished up pretty much after they graduated from high school. And was kind of it was quite gathering at the time, because it's like, those are the people, you started with, and you think, oh, we're going to dance for a really long time. We're going to stay in it forever. And, as time goes on, people just find different interests in other things and want to try something new. And they just want to take a break from dance. So I learned very quickly for myself that not everybody will be on the same journey as you. Like, you could be sharing the same thing every week and doing the same thing together, but then one day something might happen, like someone might, move away to study university, and you're still pursuing your dance career on your own. But with time, I would say you meet people along the way that share the same passion with you. Like, you gain new connections, but you still, hold on to the past connections as well, because you never forget, the people who you started with, because that's for me, it was kind of like the foundation for to build that up to now. I've even seen dancers that have taken some time away from dance, but then they come back again, and their passion for dance has just grown even more. And that's that's one thing I've learned. No matter how long you take your time away from something you love, it will always, you always find your way back to it. Like, where you take 2 years or 5 years away, and then one day you're just like, I feel like I want to go back. And then before you know it, you're back into it again, and you just find a whole different love for it all over again. And I have seen that before in a few dancers I know, and it's actually really cool to see. Really cool.
Yeah. Are there other highlights before we get on to then more you becoming the mentor, tutor, etc.? Are there some other highlights other than the royal family that you think stand out, that you've done, performances maybe?
Since then, I have been part of the Identity Dance Company, and the training was definitely intense, but the hours weren't ridiculously long. I made some really cool connections with some of the dancers that I'm still really close to this day. And it was also my first time actually competing in Australia. And it was the best experience I ever had. We actually won that year. And I remember all of us were all huddling in, and we were just screaming oh my gosh, we won. And we all got a gold medal to take home with us. So that was the best moment for me. And another highlight for me was getting to back up dance for my first ever local artist. And it was a paid job as well. One of the choreographers that was coaching me at the time, I think this was 4 or 5 years ago. And she said, hey, would you be interested in doing a job for Lavina Williams? This is for the Pacifica Festival and the NZ High Tech Awards. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please. I'm so keen. And that was probably the best moment I had, was to back up dance for an artist, whether they were local or national, international. I just got to achieve that moment. I loved the moment where I got to back up dance for her at the NZ High Tech Awards, which I didn't know at the time was a pretty big event. Even the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, at the time was there, and I was just in the moment, dancing away with Lavina Williams, living in the moment. And then as we were leaving after the performance, I looked over and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the Prime Minister. Oh, that's crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, I just performed in front of the Prime Minister.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that was I need a bit of a pinch myself moment there. And then to like, something like that, I even got, for my recognition, I even got paid to do that job. And I think that's, a real cool moment too, was, getting to, to do dance and have it as my job. Like, it's not just a hobby, it's a job that I love and have, continued to pursue, I would say.
So was that then the beginning? So can you tell us about your career? Because up until now, this has been a high performance thing you've been in. And then, your studio, or how did that emerge and how did you go about that?
So it came about towards the end of 2017. I was actually going through a bit of a roadblock that year. At the time, I was studying at Wintec, doing a Bachelor of Visual Arts. And I was going through a lot of, because one of my papers, I actually was going through the process of having to repeat my final year in 2018. And I think just a lot of like roadblocks where I was like thinking to myself, like, I don't know what to do at this point. And then my mum kind of steps in, like, you should just start your own thing. And I was like, why me? I'm like, because there's so many, because, there's so much of it. There's so many, kids out there that, want to get into dance, but they don't know where to start. And, so pretty much from there, I kind of said to myself, okay, I'll do it. Let's see where this takes us. And pretty much in 2018, that's when Street Dance Sessions was born. We actually started in a small church hall in Hamilton. And at the time, I started with classes that aged from 5 years right up until 18. At the first year we had around 40 students to start the first year. And it definitely had some challenges because I'm so used to being the dancer. But for this time around, I'm on the other side. So I'm on the other side doing like organizing the classes, the music, doing a little bit of admin work as well. My mum, my grandma, were being super supportive as soon as they encouraged me to start my business. They were able to help me with the social media and the money side of it all. Yeah, so it was definitely weird being on the other side of the production of it, because I'm so used to being, the dancer myself. And I think it's definitely taken a different approach, because I feel like this big responsibility on me, because now I'm pretty much like, my intention for it is to basically teach the next generation of kids in the Waikato and to provide them an opportunity to just be in a safe environment where they can be themselves and, learn how to dance and have fun at the same time.
Now that's wicked, because you're the impact it's had on you, you're really trying to feed on that, aren't you? It's such an important part of your life. It's more than dance. It's quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just look back to, how much dance has done for me, and hopefully my goal with it is I hope I can just bring it out to, reach out to some of the kids that I teach that come to my classes. Whether it's just I always hear this a lot from parents saying that, thank you so much for, teaching my kid. They absolutely enjoy your classes, and it's helped them build, growing in their confidence. And that's something that is always that's always mentioned a lot from parents, is how dance has helped them, come out of their shell, build their confidence. Because a lot of kids I see that come to me for the first time, they get real timid and real shy the first time. And my job for me is to just give them a lot of encouragement and to help them, find their own self in a way. And yeah, I think just those comments from parents saying, that I've helped them in some way to, build their confidence. It's a real, it's a real like, okay, I'm doing something right with what I'm doing.
Even the way you hold yourself, like someone's listening to this right now or watching it, but those listening, even your hand movements, Miriana, the way you're talking, I'm like, you can tell you're a dancer because you're expressing things and you're doing it in a way that I'm like, oh, I want to move my shoulders like that. So that confidence comes through. I'm observing, I'm like, wow. So even that, just the way you held yourself while you're sitting right there, that's the other stuff you're giving those students. And I'm sure Ludlam could talk to this. You're so involved with their lives, and kids probably express themselves in ways, and you're learning a lot more than just their dance skills. You're probably hearing about maybe things at home or with friends and this, all those other bits. So you take on more than just being their dance teacher. Ludlam's attest to this in other interviews. You're really involved with those lives. So you began with full. How many students do you think you have now?
So this is my 8th year of running the school. I would say I have around altogether over 120 students now, and we still continue to grow. So back 2018, I was only teaching once a week, and now I'm teaching classes twice a week, but also on weekends I'm taking 3 competition teams and 1 development team. So developing them into potentially getting into our competing teams. And it's even like that's a lot of work, because it takes a lot of responsibility for me to make sure, even with like the competition kids that I teach, I'm creating a set, doing their music, and even having to think about like, how they're going to have, how they're going to have their hair, what they're going to wear. And it's a lot of thinking, like visually as well. And it definitely does have its challenges, because it's majority of the time I'm taking the classes, but I also have like an awesome team of 4 that help me on the assisting side of teaching. So that's always, a good thing to have, and also bringing up the next upcoming leaders as well in my dance school, and hopefully to one day they get to do what I'm doing right now. And
that's awesome.
Can I ask Miriana, in terms of career paths for dance, I mean, you talked about one of yours, you can dance. If you're lucky enough and you're good enough, you can get paid to dance. There must be, like you've just touched on, choreography, costumes, productions and shows. There's teaching studios. Is there movies, videos? There's a lot going on that we probably don't appreciate, where the movement, the dance is happening around us and we just don't know.
Yeah. So dance can it's crazy what dance, can do. Like, it's not just you can be a dance teacher. Like, I've seen dancers that, direct their own, like, their dance videos, and also even like coming up with the costumes as well of what they're going to wear or how the lighting's going to be. So you're doing more than just, teaching them how to dance. You're also giving them the experiences that I used to have, when I was their age, and you're providing them opportunities. Like a few years ago, I remember I directed my first ever professional dance video for my students, just to give them the experience of how to perform for camera. Because as a dancer, it's an important aspect to have, like not only how to dance in front of camera, but how to confidently feel when you're dancing in front of like a lens. Because it's like when you get a camera up in your face, it's like, oh no. And it just like, teaching them to like, be like, watch yourself how you dance. You're actually amazing when you dance in front of camera. Like, just giving them that belief that, you can. And I think and like looking back on that experience I did with the kids, they enjoyed it so much because they were able to, perform in front of camera and even get dressed up for it as well. Like I gave them like a concept where, their costume had to be inspired by the movie Grease. So they got to create their own looks. And then on the day of the shoot, we did it at a primary school. And it's just like, it was just like a fun dance video that the kids were able to like get the experience. And I think looking back on it, it was a lot of fun too. And for me as well, because I got to kind of direct, where the camera goes and how the kids need to dance and where to look at the camera. So that was a lot to juggle as well. Because part of you is like, oh no, I'm like, oh, do I dance as well? No, okay, I'll just stay over here.
Yeah. Can I look at a slightly negative side? Do you have to deal, now that you're a teacher, with kids who are maybe body conscious, stereotypes, images around size? And is that something, because I would imagine in dance it's a little bit like modeling, or is it just not something? Yeah, I don't know.
I've had students that have been coming to me and they struggle with those things. I also have kids who struggle with they're real anxious, they have real social anxiety, and just that worry of like, if they're good enough or not. And that can be really hard to tackle. Like I've had experiences where I've had to pull some kids aside when they were getting, when they'll get real anxious. And for me, it's, you want to, that's like a really sad feeling. But in the moment, especially when it's at a competition, you kind of have to like, be really calm. So yeah, it's a really hard, it's definitely a really hard thing for us dancers. It's like a mental block. When we have those, like, those thoughts, especially when it comes to feeling like anxious with anxiety and just that worry before you get on stage. I'm the kind of person, when I feel it's happening to one of them, I have to quickly take them away and just like give them that comfort. And sometimes it can take like, a while, sometimes like, longer. And, you could be at a competition and, you could be, you're about to go on stage and someone's having like a mental breakdown. Like part of you is like, we need to go, hurry up. But then it's like, no, I have to like, keep it together, or else I'm going to be something that I never want to see my kids. And just kind of giving them that, that reassurance and that comfort they need. Because sometimes if my kids feel that way and they need a hug, I just give them that hug. Because I want to be known as a teacher that not only like, teaches them how to dance, but also someone that's, they can come to if they ever feel some type of way, or they have like, something that might be going on and they just need that comfort or that encouragement.
You've said that a few times about comfort, encouraging these things, and it's about being there for their welfare. It feels like not just their dance teacher, about you're more there for the holistic student and person, which is epic.
Yeah.
They get, if they want to go into those high performance realms where maybe that criticism is coming in, like we talked about, they've got confidence instilled and they're potentially going to come back to you even then and seek some help. So I think that's awesome that even though you have lots of competing priorities and your 120 plus students, that you keep an eye on them and look out for that. So if I'm a parent listening, I'd be pretty stoked to hear that.
Yeah. And like not only with because I always notice it a lot in my competition kids as well, especially my older ones, because I think it gets to an age where they're having lots of thought about, how they look and how they feel. And I'm wanting to be, it's very important for like, not just for dance teachers, but also for other teachers as well, to be, to be that comfort for their students when you feel like they just need that, even if it's just like a simple hug or, just some reassurance.
Yeah, that they feel seen That's awesome. Do we have, just because I see we're chatting, it's been a good hour. Is there things we haven't talked about, Miriana, and you, Ludlam, that you feel like we should have asked, or a topic we haven't gone into, just making sure we haven't missed? I know there's a lot in your life that potentially we can't touch on everything, but something in your story that you feel like we haven't talked about that we should have.
I would probably say, like, my thing for me is like, where I'm like, where I'm at, where to from here kind of thing, I would say.
Please.
I think so. I'm currently right now, I'm looking for a building for my studio. I'm just hiring at a dance studio at a school at the moment. And that's, which has been ideal for my classes, but I want to be able to expand my classes a little bit more and hoping to have a bigger space. So that's the next stage for my school, is to have a studio that I can call home, while also continuing my dance dreams. I'm currently signed to a talent agency up in Auckland. So I think the next step there is hoping to get some more dance jobs, especially my big one is to, I think I would say my dream is to perform in a music video for an artist, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally. I think that's like a long term over there. But yeah, I think one thing I just want to leave off to anybody that may be listening to this right now. I would just keep following your dreams is probably the most important thing. Follow your dreams. You're going to have a lot of roadblocks along the way, and I know I've had many, and I still do during this. I still do, but you can back out. You can, come back from them, and don't be afraid to try again. Because I've been there. It's happened to me, but it's just taught me to be, the person I am today. And surround yourself with good, positive-minded people, and people that are going to help you on your journey.
That's wicked. Yeah, I always wondered when we invited you on, Miriana, how it would go, and it's just a really lovely story. And I think, if nothing else, Grace and I talked the other day about what we call key competencies at school. It's like this, it's the soft skills, and you just seem to have so much that you've learned from your dance that has grown you into this wonderful, caring young woman who's a business person but cares for our youth. And I just think it's wicked what you're doing. And the fact it started, maybe a slightly struggled start in year 9 at school, but your dance was the thing that took you forward. I just congratulate you for everything you've done. And like I say, every time I've seen either you or your kids that you train perform, it is incredible. So congratulations on everything you do. Keep being awesome, and let's see you in that dance video. I hope the young dancers out there listen to this and just get some motivation to stay involved, work hard, and just grow into wonderful people.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real honor. So thank you guys so much for having me again.
Wait, we have one final question. Oh, almost forgot. Okay. We asked this to everyone. Okay. If you could go back to yourself, like Miriana, year 12 or 13, what advice would you give you? So it's not, you've given great stuff to everyone, but specifically to you, what advice would you give?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. If I would leave year 12 Miriana with 2 words, and that will be to stay humble. No matter where you go, and like no matter like the high achievements that you make in your life, always remember to be humble and remember the reason why you started in the first place.
Love it. Okay. Done.
What a place to finish. What a place to finish.